Hey everyone, this is Tracy with Color Me This. We're going to continue on today with the daily color. We colored last the hedgehog from Forest Mandalas. We used a printed version of the hedgehogs, and it was the Neenah Cover Copy 80 pound. That is my traditional from way back when cardstock that I use for coloring with Copics, and to this day it's what I use on card making for my backgrounds, my card bases, everything. And when I do color small stamped images with any of my alcohol markers, I use this. So I also made a copy of the image on my pencil coloring paper, which is Neenah Bristol Vellum. So first I'm going to share with you, here is what I colored with you last time. The back of the image always shows through. If you use the 110 pound, which won't go through my printer, you don't have hardly any bleed through, which is really nice, and I can use stamped images with my 110 pound. But if I want to run it through the printer for a big image from a coloring book, I use the 80 pound because that is all that works. So we are going to do hopefully two things today. I'm going to color this Neenah Bristol Vellum, one of these hedgehogs we will color. I'm going to turn on my flash and get it all nice and colorful for you guys. Let's see how this works. Oh, and that's still so bright. It's a gray day. I even heard a thunder in the distance. All right, so I have my same colors as what I colored last time. I'm going to pull you closer to me so it's easier for me. I do put, when I color, underneath is, I have a clipboard and I have 3 sheets of copy paper, my cheap 20 pound copy paper, because if it bleeds through, and this is 67 pound, so I suspect it's going to bleed through a lot. So let's just grab our lightest of the browns. We have 3 of them. I don't think I used the darkest, so I only have these 3. Let's see if I can have you see what they are this close. Look at that. Can't make it focus. I had this problem the other day. But if I do this, it might focus. Nope. Oh, there we go. For E42, E43, and E44 are our 3 tans. And I hope that we will be able to get right to the pencils, which I have here today, which are the Derwent Drawing. And I grabbed a bunch that coordinate. I'm not sure we will use all of them. We're mostly going to do shadows and then a little bit of highlights with the Chinese white. So right off the bat, I'm supposed to be talking about my experience. The markers are soaking in, so they're streaky. What I like about the Neenah Solar White cover copy is that it's very slick, so you do get a soaking in, but it does not look so streaky. Let's take a peek at the back. Look at how much the back has soaked through, and then here is the difference. There is the body of the hedgehog with the Neenah cover copy. This is the Neenah Bristol Vellum, totally soaking through. Which is what I was suspicious of. Not that that's a terrible thing. So I'm going to switch now to E43, which is the middle brown. This middle brown I was using as like a start of a shadow. Now, since it's soaked in, I might not have as easy of a time with the notion of getting it wet, putting in a darker color, and then coming back This is the light color, and I want to have a nice soft blend. And remember that when you add subsequent layers of a color, see how this is the lightest color, and it is making it very shadowy. So I will have to alter my technique a little bit. I used the dotting with the middle color, but the dotting with the middle color is going to be too extreme, so I will be dotting here with the lightest color. Oh, and Hub, he's out working, and he has just pulled up in front of our bird feeder. So let's see if he's going to open the door. Well, he just grabbed something and drove off. All right, so there's the body. I'm going to do the middle tone. Now, oh, I think I did use the one darker, which I don't know that I have here. I might have put it away. So this is 44. E44 is going to be my shadows. I had altered, by the time I hit the leaves, I did shadowing on the, I'm going to look at my image here. All right, so let's look at the image I did. I shadowed in what is the traditional shadow area, not where the lines are, but for everything else, I shadowed where the lines are, taking the prompt from the artist. And Hub is home. I will be back. All right, so much excitement. So I am looking for E47. Oh, and we have the cat meowing. He wants out. My goodness, it's Grand Central Station here. Okay, so I'm going back to E43. I looked at my image and I did 43 and 44. These are pretty quick to color with, I will say. So far, aside from the initial body layering that did quite a bit of soaking in, this feels very similar. It's a little rougher, there's a little bit of drag. Cost-wise, the Bristol Vellum, which I'm using now for colored pencils, is a fraction of the cost. I think I might have paid 10 bucks a ream, and the Neenah Solar Cover Copy is like up to 48 bucks a ream. If you can find it on sale, that's great. There was a 2-for-1, the last chunk that I bought of it, I was able to get for the 48, but I got 2 reams. And I think Neenah now it got bought out by another company, so since I have so much of it as on hand, I haven't had to look for it, I guess, in the last 2 years. I am sort of a supplies hoarder. I would rather have enough to last me a lifetime than run out. And I have storage now, which I didn't before. When we were in the RV, I had to travel very light. So when I first got here and it went on sale, I was so excited to actually be able to buy an extra ream and have it on hand. Then I've noticed in the last couple of years I color a lot more than I card make, so I don't have the huge amount of extra inventory that I used to have of cards. In fact, I used to have 5 boxes separated by topic of cards, and now I probably, even though I still have the 5 boxes, I could compress them down to probably 3. My coloring friend Dawn noticed we were going through my cards, because she actually has a lot of card making supplies, so we make cards infrequently, but she noticed that my supply is going down. It's because I don't replenish. All right, we've got our hedgehog colored. I'm going to go across. I did not use the light, and I want to just skim along here. And not have quite as much white showing. I might have Hub coming back in again. Yep. Well, my goodness, you guys. So it has not rained much, and lucky he is 6 months old, and I think it's only rained once or twice since he's been big enough to be outside. So Hub came home, and they came through here, through the craft area, put the harness on Lucky, who was all excited because he gets very excited when he gets to go outside. And I should continue working while I'm talking. And they go outside. It is raining, and he says, "Hey, you want to sit out in the rain with me, cat?" Because he actually got wet working on the trail, so he's already soaking wet. And sure enough, 2 seconds after being out, the cat comes in the door. I actually am walking over to close the door so I can film, and the cat came back in and he was already wet, and he's like, "No." I thought that was so funny. So here I am. We're a little bit on the dry side. You know, I'm supposed to be, if I want to blend this out, I should be doing it when it's wet. This is the lightest color. I'm leaving some of the tips white, and I will do more work to make them white with the Chinese white. So what I find is there's a pretty big difference with the second layer. Look how dark these second layer bits are getting compared to the second layer. So this is a dry second layer. You also get, if you want a bigger transition to the dry, you let it to the dry. You, let's see, I've got to speak English here. To get a bigger transition and differentiation with a second layer of a light color or any color, let it dry, and now you can see that you do get a bigger contrast as it soaks in to the already dry lightest layer. Okay, so the one on the right is the hedgehog done on the Neenah, and this is all, this dark shadowy is the second color, the middle color. This back here, I wish I could get both of them closer. All right, this has a slight bit of the lightest color that I'm just adding another layer, and I'm going to do a layer in the same area of the lightest color. And I think, I'm just looking together at them, that the Bristol Vellum over here on the left has a darker appearance, and I believe when it dries it will also stay darker than the rear end over here. And I don't know if you can see that. So the solar cover copy, that's very smooth finish, is not going to have as large steps of transitions light to dark when you add subsequent layers of the same color. and you get a lot more intense color transitions on this Bristol Vellum. Okay, now we're going to work on greens. I've got my 3 greens. We will see if we can get them to focus. Hey, look, they focused. We've got YG61, YG63, and YG67. And we are going to start with a light I'm going to leave the non-marked area white. No, I am not. I'm referring to my original. So the whole thing is going to be colored. Now, while we're still wet, I'm going to go to my second color, 63. I can soften that line by going back to my light. But as I just said, the soaking in makes the, so this is, see how dark that is? It's not a very good transition. So I'm sure that if I worked with it enough, worked with this paper, I would adjust accordingly. So just keep in mind that this paper has a lot more soaking properties, and thus the layering is going to be more intense as you add the darker color. See, look at how intense that is. Now I'm going to go back to the middle tone, 63. So that was 67, and I'm going to blend it out. Sort of a dabbing motion. I was doing that in the previous episode. And we're going to call that done. Back to the lightest, moving on to our next section. Oh, so seldom that I hear rain. We need the rain so bad. All of our waterways and canals are very dry. Hardly any water, just a trickle in them. We do live in a swamp, so we are mostly have lots of lakes and waterways that are full most of the year, and every spring they dry up. Everybody is going to be so happy to have some water. All right, that was the lightest color. Just following the process, working on the tips, just to be different. Follow the artist prompts, see how we like this just to be non-traditional. So one of the things I thought I would experience, but there's a little bit of green there because I was sloppy. But what I find with papers that soak in and aren't appropriate for alcohol markers, they will bleed outside the lines really easily. So if they do that and you're using a paper that isn't a good paper, in my opinion, you will get bleeding that feathers out, and it does not look good. And this paper is not doing that. I thought for sure it would, so I'm pretty impressed. I'm going right up to the line. If I'm using some substandard paper, which does not happen very often because I usually always have my own, I'm going back to the middle tone to do some blending. But there have been occasions where I've been at a card event where we are using other people's supplies and they put together like a card kit. They provided the blends and everything. And if they've used a paper that isn't good at handling markers, you'll get the bleed that I don't really like. But this is not bleeding out in an unproductive way. So I'm pretty happy with it. It makes me think that I'm on the lightest color. I'm in using YG61, softening some of my lines. I have the Spring Hill, which is another popular copy paper. I believe it's also 67 pounds. So I might, on my own time, go ahead and do a test on it, and maybe I'll pop back in and give a report. I do feel like my muscle memory, having colored lots and lots with the Copics, is coming right back. And you have to recap them, at least I do. Every time I switch a color, you'll hear me popping the caps on and off. I don't know if everybody does that, but it is how I color with them. My hands are a little bit sore. It's one of the things I love about colored pencils is they do not hurt my hands. These can be the operating of the caps. I even started my alcohol marker experience with the Spectrum Noir, and I had to switch to the Copics because the Spectrum Noir were way more reasonably priced. You could get them at Joann's and on sale. So I had to give those to my mom because my hands are just so bad, or at the time they were way worse than they are now. They are much better. So I don't think I will go back to pure Copic coloring anytime soon. Pencils are still my first love. It's a little noisier also. There's some drag because there's tooth. So don't get tricked into doing too much because you want to be able to get your soft blended look, and it's way easier to do if the paper is saturated with that lighter color. With pencils, I tend to go dark to light, the shadowy bits first, moving out to the light. And with Copics, I've always done the opposite, though there are people who like to go light to dark with, dark to light with Copics. That doesn't work with me. So basically what I do is kind of like up and down the scales, light to dark, and then work back to dark to light. And then move to the next section. Okay. All right, I'm going to stop now so that I can spend some time coloring with the pencils. This is what we've got. I'm going to not quite stop. I will do the blue. I'll do the flower. I just don't want to run out of time like I did yesterday. Yesterday, whenever I did the last episode, I had fully intended to do both of these. So this is BG11. The yellow was Y13. I only have 2 of the BGs. I will be using the Derwent Drawing to go dark on the flower. Yeah, this paper is okay. Oh, I just went out the line there. Okay. So that is Bristol Vellum by Neenah. And this is the Solar Cover Copy by Neenah. I wish there was a way to have you see how both look. Put this on the one side in the corner, and this on this side. Okay, so now I'm looking down, and they look very similar. They feel very different. This is the Bristol Vellum, and it's very toothy. And over here, the Neenah Solar Cover Copy is very smooth. But I think they both look good. So I'm going to give a thumbs up for the Bristol Vellum as a perfectly adequate for doing Copics. Now the next thing that will be even bigger of a challenge, we have our Derwent Drawing, and I want to do a little bit on both because pencils want some tooth. So here's all of my colors. I've got my white, I have 2 blues, I have ink blue and smoke blue, I have 2 greens, olive earth and shadow, green shadow. I did grab black, but I probably won't need it. And then chocolate is my dark. So I am going to try the paper. I don't think will work as well. So this is the smooth paper, the Neenah smooth paper. I'm going to grab the chocolate, and I'm going to just do some flicking for some texture. That's not going too bad. These are very nice. I did not think they would lay down as well as they are doing. So this is one of those cases where you can just flick as much detail on here as you want. But I have to remember I have 4 of them to do the whole image, is 4 little hedgehogs. Okay, I'm going to see what happens with my Chinese white. So Chinese white. Mixed with the chocolate. It's okay. This is again the smooth paper. Going back to chocolate. I'm doing reverse flicking down into the crack here of each of the little individual hair sections. Well, I think that the brown is doing fantastic. I love the depth that I am seeing. Very nice. Okay, so that is bringing out more of this white, because the photos of these hedgehogs, the tips are very white. Okay, so that was a good success. I'm tempted to just switch over. Let's bring out the Bristol Vellum. All right, so we're going to start with some chocolate. And I do see that the color is not as dark now that, so it's dried now. And the color between the two, this soaks in more than the smooth. So my hedgehog, even without that dark chocolate that I added, this is way softer now that it's dry, way lighter. So we are going to use this chocolate pencil to darken all of the shadows up. And I get a really good feel on this toothier paper with these pencils. They're not gliding along, they're quiet, but they are really grabbing onto the tooth. Now that is a nice looking contrast there. So something you do not want to do, I do not think it is good for Copics to go over the top of pencil. I know that graphite will ruin your Copics, so I would not recommend coloring over the top of pencil with alcohol markers. That is not, I mean, I know for sure graphite will harm your Copics. but I suspect. So I have not looked that up to be sure. So I am really liking how the white goes down over this toothy paper. Very nice. I'm doing a little bit more because I just told you I don't think it's safe to take your Copic. I would like there to be a little more transition, and that the tips should be the only part that looks white. So I'm just coloring in softly. Yeah, I like this paper for pencils a lot. I see why it is recommended over the Solar Cover Copy. All right, so there we go. There's our hedgehog. Let's now work for fun on the blue. I have 2 blue pencils. I have ink blue, and I have smoke blue. We're doing the reverse. I would want to be going in here, but that is not what the art says. So instead, I am going to be adding the dark per the lines. Starting with the ink blue. I am working on the Neenah Bristol Vellum. Here is the smoke blue. And these blues aren't the aqua color. We don't have any of those color tones available to us, but they still are working. And then if I wanted to, let's see if we can get a little bit of white going right in the middle areas. And then we're going to talk about this little overline. All right, next, greens. I have 2 greens. Olive Earth is my dark green. And Green Shadow is the lighter green. I don't know that we'll need the green shadow. And I may have to sharpen this. So this is not quite as dark as I would like. So here's what I am going to do. I am going to go with a little bit of the chocolate. All right, now back to the olive earth. Okay, very nice. Love these on this paper. Let's go now to the Neenah Bristol Vellum. I'm sorry, that was Neenah Bristol Vellum. This is the Neenah Solar Cover Copy. Starting with, we'll just continue on with the green. It's more glidey, not as catchy. Still looks good though, still feels good. Here's the chocolate. I want to get a little more. Ah, these go pretty good on this cover copy. Trying to give the work on the curved appearance. Very nice. I kind of like this better. I was not expecting to. Look at that. How beautiful is that? So this is chocolate. This is the olive. I don't even need to use this one. This one I'm not using, green shadow. No, no to the green shadow. All right. I'm going to go in and do some more darkening of the hair bits, leaving just the top of each chunk white. I'm being very sketchy about it. Again, this is very smooth paper. You might be able to hear how much it's coming down at this point. It's lovely. Again, darkening up the base, just want the tips to be white. All right, a little bit more white, and then we're going to do this flower, and we will do a compare. We're at 45 minutes. I'm glad I didn't color the whole image. Okay, so I'm just flicking backwards from the top back. Heavy pressure. And depending on how much of a work of art I would want this to be, I could just keep at it until I got just that perfect balance of the tips versus the darks. Very good experiment. Okay, darkening, we're using our two blues, mainly the ink blue. Smoke blue is the other blue color. This is a lovely feeling paper. This is the smoke blue. It can really rain here. It's coming down now. It's so dry though, like normally with this much rain we would have what we call Lake Lewis in our backyard. And it is so dry that there is no puddling at all yet, even with the heavy rain coming down. All right, so I will put both of these images, I'm going to just focus on the single, and I will splice it so that you'll see one of each. I might even try to do them side by side, and I'll zoom in. Maybe I'll do the flowers up close and then the hedgehog up close. So I'm going to do some photography for the end for you guys. I think both did a nice job, but my preference for feel, because for me, I would say, I mean, I love it to look good, but it's the experience of it. I still like the smooth over the Bristol Vellum. The Bristol Vellum is, like, I'd like an in-between paper that is not quite as smooth as the Solar Cover Copy, but the Bristol Vellum, the price is definitely right for just your casual coloring and for my coloring group projects that we work on. So that does it for today. I hope this was helpful for you. And if you want to follow along and you don't have the Copics, just use whatever alcohol markers you have. Any will do. Thank you so much for joining me today, and welcome back if you are returning. Do all of the YouTube things, like, share, comment, and consider subscribing. I'm going to fix this while we're here. Hit the bell to be notified, as my schedule does vary. And we'll see you all on the next one. The next one will probably be a special interim video. I was looking through Small Victories, and I have 2 images I want to work on that I did blast through them because we were so close to the end of the book. And now I'd like to go back and revisit those. So I'm going to work on that before we tackle the sea turtle from Fragile World. I hope to see you all there.